been approved as submitted. Next is public participation period. We have one. All right, thank you. All right, next is reports on honors and accomplishments of students and staff, and I'll turn that over to Dr. James.
Yes, ma'am. Tonight we're a little different in the fact that our recognition is for you all as a school board. We're appreciative of the leadership of the school board, and what a lot of folks don't always understand is you all put lots and lots of time in for no salary. And it's basically because you're interested, and you're interested in kids. And if anything speaks well, is the fact that we've got 2 kids going to major colleges and universities. I did tell Chris that Duke wasn't offered, but it wasn't bad. We just appreciate that, and there's some things out there in the front that I think that you all probably have seen. A lot of them are things that our kids have made. I think Bernie and Joni are particularly proud of the fact that there's a stainless steel palmetto tree in the state of South Carolina out there that our welding class has shown you that welding can be artistic too. It's not just welding, but we appreciate the time that you put in. We appreciate the work that goes along with it. Now, Ms. Wooten has here a statement of ethical principles that comes from the State School Boards Association. What they have asked is that we have a signing by each school board member, and that we frame and post that here. And basically it's the guidelines that school board members are held to with our board policy, with ethics and those sorts of things. I will get that passed around to each of you, and we certainly will frame it. But tonight we won't look to the individual schools. We'll thank you for what you all do.
All right, thank you. And on behalf of all the board, I want to thank all of the schools and our administration for our lovely gifts out in the lobby. Next, we will move on to unfinished business, which there is none. Okay. Now we'll go to new business, and the first item is consideration of change of date for the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees for February.
Yes, ma'am. As you know, the School Boards Association meeting is the February 15th meeting date would be in that same time frame. Typically what the board has done is postpone the meeting to the following week, which would be February the 22nd. That would be our recommendation. My understanding is most of our board, if not all, will be there.
Mr. Bean.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we change the date for the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees from February 15th to February 22nd, 2018.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Ms. Brown. Any discussion? Mrs. Kessler?
I actually just let Mr. Goggles know that I have a conflict. My godson is being in a command exchange at Fort Campbell in Kentucky. He will be heading up the 101 Chinook unit, taking in command. It's a formal presentation. I have been asked to be there. I hate to let my godson down. He's worked hard to get this honor, and very few people get it. I'll be involved through the 22nd. And I did, when we were trying to come up with a date for the workshop, I did let them know that I had a conflict through the 22nd.
So,
26.
when will you be back?
We'll be driving on 550 miles as soon as we get up that morning. We'll be coming back on the 22nd.
Dr. James can't do the 27th or 28th. Can everybody do the 26th, and we'll just have to change the workshop date to later on?
Is that the day of the workshop?
That's the day of the workshop. What if we came in like 5:30, worked on the workshop, and then you went on and went into meeting? That way give you an opportunity to deal with it. We'll just get it all well on the 26th.
Ms. Brown?
I'm fine if you want to do that, but there's no way I'll be here by 5:30. I mean, I already have a mediation scheduled. But I mean, that's fine. I don't mind if y'all start the workshop without me, but, and I don't mind moving the meeting around either to accommodate that honor and special congratulations. There's no way I can do both. And honestly, I think what you're trying to do in the workshop is important enough. I really feel like that should be on a separate day. So I would be opposed to that plan, even if I didn't have something.
Sir? Right.
No. Okay. I'm going to do student school meetings and Ms. and workshop and all that.
Ma'am, what about moving it forward instead of backwards? What about, since we'll be going to get gone on the regular day, what about on Tuesday the 13th? Would that work for a meeting? I know it's soon, but it would be better to do that than put 2 into March, I would think.
Yeah, I don't make it too much.
Can you move the workshop to the 13th and move to the regular schedule on the 26th?
We can do
We'll do that.
whatever y'all want to do.
Is it, that'll work for me.
That works.
Works for me. We're good? Does that work?
Yes, that's for me.
Okay, so
Workshop
I need an
13th,
amendment.
board meeting's 26th. Is that what you're
right, we'll do the workshop on the 14th.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we amend Mr. Bingham's motion and move the workshop to keep it on the 26th, I mean the 13th, and move the meeting to the 26th.
Motion, second on Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right. Next item is presentation of financial and procurement audit results for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017.
Yes, I don't know why our microphones aren't on yet, but I'd like to bring Matthew Hodges, he's the manager and CPA at Burkett, in charge of the audit to give you the results of the fiscal year 2016, 2017.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, and leadership Lexington 2, thank you very much for your time this evening and for the opportunity to present the results of our audits. I'll cover a brief introduction for our firm, address our required audit communications, and present a brief summary of your financial statements. So our team consists of Larry Montague, who's our audit partner, who oversaw and approved all the reports that we issued. I'm Matthew Hodges, I'm your audit manager, oversaw the results of your financial and single audits, and Sam Hoffman oversaw our procurement audit for the district. And we wanted to say thank you very much to Kelly Richardson, Tony Shealy, and all the staff of business operations in your entire district. Everyone was very cooperative in providing us with information on a timely basis. Please report we had no disagreements whatsoever with management. There were no consultations with any other independent accountants prior to our being retained. There were no issues that were discussed as a condition of our being retained as your independent auditors. We encountered no difficulties whatsoever in performing your audits, and once again, we received full cooperation from all your staff. So the financial statements and note disclosures have been fairly presented in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. There were no unreported misstatements, and our audits followed both generally accepted auditing standards as well as the provisions of government auditing standards and the uniform guidance. So we tested transactions based upon our knowledge of Lexington 2. We use our professional judgment in determining sample sizes that were appropriate, and we designed those for reasonable but not absolute assurance. And as a result of those procedures for your financial audit, we noted no instances of non-compliance with your district policies that were considered to be material. There was one finding on the procurement audit that was considered to be immaterial on the basis of a purchase card authorization that was documented after the purchase had been made. We have issued 3 clean opinions. First, we issued an unmodified opinion on your financial statements. Secondly, we found no deficiencies in internal controls over financial reporting that were considered to be material. And we issued an unmodified opinion with regards to your federal award programs. We also performed an agreed-upon procedures engagement. That was relating to affiliated entities of the district that are independent of the district itself. And those would include PTAs, booster clubs, and foundations. We requested accounting records, bank statements, reconciliations, check backup and deposit backup for the period of July 2016 to May of 2017. We did have some findings as a result of that engagement. Two organizations did not submit their accounting records when requested. One did not perform bank reconciliations for the periods that we selected, and there were also some checks and deposits that were missing. So once again, if we look at the district as a whole, we find the district to be in excellent financial position as a result of foresight of the board and your senior leadership. Your unassigned general fund balance was $10.6 million as of June 30, 2017. This represents 13% of the budgeted general fund expenditures for fiscal year 2018. That's about a month and a half worth of expenses. And once again, the district for fiscal year 2016 received both the certificates of excellence financial reporting for both GFOA and ASPA. Taking a look at the balance sheet for the general fund, you'll see total assets of $29.1 million. Liabilities were $16.7 million with deferred inflows of $1.8 million. So that results in the fund balance in the general fund of $10.6 million at June 30th. That's a little hard to read, but our comparison of revenues and expenses for the general fund, total revenues were $75.3 million. That was an increase of just over $4 million for fiscal year 2017 compared to the prior year. That was due to an increase in both property tax revenues and state funding. And expenditures increased by about just under $2 million, or just over $2 million, excuse me. And that was due to increased expenses on instruction and support services. And transfers, we had net transfers that out of the general fund that increased by over $1 million. That was due to transfers to capital projects as a result of board policy. All right, so that's your end of year fund balance, $10.6 million. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? Ms. Crane?
The organizations, this is the one we always have the trouble with.
Yes.
So they did not turn in bank statements.
There were two organizations that did not turn in their accounting records on a timely manner.
Does that mean they finally did it? Or
Well, no, we did not receive them when we requested, so no, we did not receive those.
Okay, so then, Kelly, I guess this question would be to you is, what are we going to do about that?
We, that is a decision that the board can make, what to do about that. I've communicated that information along with the principal, so he is aware. So that is why the board has that decision to what to do about those entities for board policy.
The bottom line, Mr. Beam, on those organizations, they are empowered by the board. Kelly doesn't have the authority nor do I to say that they're non-existent, but she has discussed it. They are aware that that is a requirement. As a matter of fact, one of those organizations that, if I remember correctly, came to this board and you all explained, but you have the authority to go as far as even to say that they can't represent part of the district. In reality, the district office, me or Kelly, neither of us have any true authority over them. They're an outside agency and they're not affiliated with the school district in a fiduciary manner, and they are empowered by the school board. So that's kind of where we are. But they were not in time for the audit. They have been made aware. They were made aware before the audit.
Yeah, the concern here is whenever the organizations, they don't want to be affiliated with us when it comes to being fiscally accountable, but yet, they want us to do things, and when they don't abide by the rules, You know, because when they get in financial troubles, in the first place everybody comes is looking to this board to make everybody whole, because they did something with the finances they shouldn't have done. And that's why we put these procedures in place, is to do that. So we need to follow up. We need to have some accountability there from these organizations in some manner, because if they're going to have people taking money from other people and representing that they are affiliated with the school district, and I know many parents donate stuff and give stuff, and they're thinking they're giving it to the school, but it's these organizations, but yet we're tagged with it.
Right.
No, and that's a very clear distinction, Mr. Bingham. You are absolutely right. They are not giving it to the school nor the school district. Those organizations are not the school.
But if they're going to represent that they are affiliated with us, they've got to at least be financially accountable, because the public is looking to us to make sure they are.
Right.
And every organization, outside organization in this district was made aware of it, made aware of the fact that the audit was coming. It's not new. We've used Burkett for a long period of time. Kelly's followed up with letters since that time. So that's where we are. But you asked about what are we going to do. The bottom line is the only authority lies with the board.
Well, I would recommend that perhaps y'all discuss it as the administration and come back to the board with some recommendation for what we need to do. Get to the bottom of these organizations that did not comply, not doing bank statements. I mean, that's just not going to be acceptable if you're handling money for the public.
Right. We do communicate with her.
And the supporting documents.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Mr. Brown?
And this may or may not be a question for you, but as part of the audit process, did y'all meet with either the officers or a committee from the school board charged with overseeing the budget, or did y'all?
No, we did not. We met with management in the course of performing our audit.
Okay.
Any more questions? All right, so,
I think at this point we need to say we either agree or we disagree with Mr. Bingham, and right now I'm going to say I definitely agree. I don't think this should be passed. We're going to have to do something. It's not the first year we've faced these questions.
Well, and it's each year. I do know that it's not the same organization
Correct.
each year,
It's just a
but
problem.
we've got to impart to these folks the importance of being fiscally responsible.
Yes.
We have that duty as elected officials, but when they take on these volunteer roles in these organizations, they equally have that duty. And that's what we need to somehow get a handle on, making them accountable for that.
But I think these organizations are also informed of their responsibility of reporting, are they not? So they know in advance. It's not like we're pulling surprises on any of them. They're very much aware and brought in for workshops and things, I think. So I'm kind of concerned why we're having this perpetual problem year after year.
well, so I think we're all in agreement.
Right.
We need for y'all to talk, bring us something. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next item on the agenda is consideration of Buy a Brick campaign. And I believe we have representatives in the audience that will be coming in and presenting.
First of all, I'm Ben Levinson. I'm president of the Bearcat Club. I think most of you know that for the audience. And I'm really excited about presenting an opportunity for the Bearcat Club to raise a lot of money by doing what's called a Buy a Brick campaign. This was kind of my idea from about 6 months ago when I knew we were building a new arena. And with the help of my excellent board, I think we have a great plan, and we'd like to present it to you tonight. Emma Stanton and Karen Krowski to do that for us. And then we also have Todd Cease here to answer any questions on the rendering of where this is going to happen. Kim?
Basically, we contacted the same company that Riverbank Zoo uses and the Horseshoe at USC, and it's fundraisingbrick.com. After much consideration, we felt as though that we needed to go through a company to deal with this, because there's only 7 of us, and like you all, we have full-time jobs. And then too, this is a more secure, logistic area that we need to go through, that a person could go straight to the site. So it is an online site, it is secure, we have a PayPal account built in, so there is, talking about financial responsibility of a way of tracking. And then also it goes to the individual purchasing the brick, that they will key in exactly what their brick will look like. So there's no mistake on our end and reuse. The great thing about the fundraisingbrick.com is we are able, in partnership with Todd Cease, who's going to present you in just a few minutes, the same similar color brick, so you shouldn't see any type of variances in the look of the brick. And they are one of the very few companies that offer a laser type brick, where many of the bricks that are out there from years ago are etched over time. They get the chalky, shadowy, and you don't get more bang for your buck. So laser, it is a lifetime guarantee. Each of you should have a mock-up order form that we have just drafted for tonight, just to give you an idea of what the price would be. We're only selling 4x4 and 8x4 just to keep it really clean and simple as we do this first phase. We anticipate, just based on word of mouth, just from our board members, and then through parents and through our sporting athletic programs at Brooklyn Casey, right now we have about 100 folks waiting. They're letting us know, give us the link and we're ready to go. So we're excited. We look forward to see this as a first phase, see how well it goes. And Todd has assured us there is well enough room to where we can just keep building on this year after year.
Any questions? It is the zoo use stuff. We can order, as long as it's no charge for shipping, as long as we order at least $100 worth of bricks at a time. So we can do multiple orders. For example, the zoo does it 4 times a year. So they really make it as easy as possible. They make it easy. We can still tweak it if you have someone who doesn't feel comfortable ordering online. We can still tweak it, but it puts it in the hands of the consumer. It goes to them. They take from us. They, the rest, and it's very easy to track funds, and it is easy for everyone to do. And if anybody needs help, we will go to their house and help them do it too. So, but it's a really good program, and it's proven. I mean, this place is proven, so it's a really good thing. It's a good thing. And Todd, they're excited about it. It seems like a really exciting and easy.
Are y'all talking about doing like, I know the zoo has like a walkway across the river kind of thing. Y'all talking about doing a walkway, or is this a wall, or is this a planter with bricks, or?
So we're going to lead that right into Todd's.
All right.
And various things. They can evolve over the years as well too.
I'm just thinking as far as ongoing, how does that work when you have phases?
So Brad, there's approximately 1,700 linear feet of pavers, and you can see in this rendering how it aligns the sidewalk, and this is sort of the main entrance to the arena, coming from the existing school over to the main entrance. So whatever, that's included in the budget and that you'll approve tonight, and the bids that you'll approve tonight. And the bricks will be delivered to the contractor. The contractor will set the ones that come in time. And then over a period of time, if you want to remove some of the other brick and add more bricks with stains, you'll be able to do that as well.
So they're not laser etching it on site. It's just separate bricks. So in the future, they would have to pull some bricks out and then replace them. Is that how that works?
Correct.
Okay.
And the exciting thing about this is that we can sell a lot of bricks now. I mean, the school's been there since 1932. So, I feel like we can raise a lot of money now, but in the future, as more graduating classes come through, that we'll be able to each year just update it and get more in there. So this is not only a for now project, it's also one for the future that'll keep particularly help the Bearcat Club intended to grow funds for athletics.
Thank you, Dr. Mr. Bailey.
So the Installation of the brick, I can understand that what they'll put in when we begin construction or during construction. All right, when construction's over and then people have ordered bricks, then this cost includes the installation to go out and put the bricks in, or, I mean, how's that gonna work once the construction's over and then you got another 100 people that bought bricks and they're wanting their name out there and.
I think in the ongoing situation, I think we'll have to
We'll have
work with
we'll
the
have to
district as
provide.
far as then Bearcat Club absorbing the cost of installation. So if we take out bricks, then we would, I mean, that's the only way I see it working, is that we would then absorb the cost of that installation. So obviously our fundraising is going to go down, but yet it's still going to be an ongoing process. So if we took out bricks and we have a new pathway, or take out concrete, they would have to get a bid on that and things like that. So
And I consider this as a once a
Right, we don't want the district
thing to do. It'll happen, and it will be, the Bearcat Club will take responsibility for that. That'll be incorporated in the sale of the brick. So the district should not have to.
So I guess maybe this question directed at Todd. Todd, it's not a provision in this to make it easy to do that. These bricks are mortared in, you're gonna have to.
Well, they're loose laid, so
They are loose laid.
they're in a sand bed, so it'd be easy to, modify, but it's not included in the installation after the initial installation in the bid.
No, I understand that. I just wanted to know what provisions for how easy is it gonna be ongoing.
Right.
So the bands are loose laid here in
It's set-
sand, and then
set-
the concrete's poured up to those.
Correct, to hold them in place.
So then, in the future, you're just digging out the sand, putting them in, you just have to get somebody that knows how to do that.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have one more question.
All right.
It is a decent amount of the, profit coming back towards the club, without getting into specifics of
It
it.
is, it's about half.
Okay.
a little bit over, especially if we do the,
The bigger bricks, we'll get a high, we'll get a higher profit on the bigger brick. And also, there's a couple of little, sticker kind of inlay tanks that you can put it. And if they do that, actually a little bit more profit, I
But
think.
you're getting at least about half.
It's a half
Yeah.
price.
Okay.
so it's a good market. Good market.
Okay. All right, well, if there are no more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the campaign as presented.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Karen, I understand we have congratulations in order.
Okay, that is merely to make, okay, getting married in, my daughter got married in Vegas today, but she lives in Paris and she's married an Englishman, and that makes immigration situations easier in England down the road, so there'll be a big wedding in England down the road, but for now, and they're going to visit the relatives in LA, so it's sort of this, I wasn't sure until today it was really gonna happen, and then I was like, okay, we can let people know or not, don't let anybody drive there if I can't be there. She's like, you can't be there anyway, Mom. I'm like, okay, Rachel, it's fine.
Well, she might be in.
But it wasn't,
Solid.
I know, it's like, it's fine, everybody wants to go watch it.
Thank y'all. Thank you. All right. Next, we will move on to consideration of Springdale Elementary School Improvement Council and PTO's litter-free library project. And we'll have those representatives come up now.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for letting us be here tonight, and thank you very much for your service. We also have a similar project. In 2017, Springdale Elementary's library was ranked, unfortunately, as a below and at risk. So the School Improvement Council, our School Improvement Council, was compelled to address that, and one of the ways we wanted to address that is through a project of construction of a little free library. Really, our fundraising project would ultimately fund a little free library on our site. It will also help us to fund some additional books for our media center. So we're here tonight to seek approval for construction of this little free library that we would be able to raise funds through and similar naming sponsorships through the bricks which is being passed around a sample of brick. We would be utilizing the funds to help us construct both the Little Free Library as well as the pathway. This is a rough rendering of what it would look like. The picture in the corner is just a sample of the library, kind of a concept of what we're looking for. The middle is the actual, is a concept of what the pathway would look like. We're wanting to construct this on our school site on the front entrance. Of course, the Little Free Library would be right at the end of the walkway. And so that's what we are here tonight. We would be utilizing some of our community partners to help us with this project. We have some in-kind sponsorship and willing to do the construction for us. And we're utilizing a brick firm that is helping us with the fundraising efforts that would allow us to be able to use our community, go out to our Springdale community, who's been one of our big sponsors. That our neighborhood is very involved in our community, in our school, and we appreciate that very much. And so we would be reaching out to those folks as well as our students and population and some of our other corporate sponsors as well to help us with this fundraising effort. And I'm sorry, I forgot, I'm Missy Kaufman. I'm on the SIC, our Board Improvement Council Chair, Leanne Murray, was unable to be here tonight, so I'm here as part of the School Improvement Council Board as well, and a parent.
Can you just kind of concept of Little Free Library, obviously that must be an organization, kind of tell me the concept of what the purpose of that is.
So Little Free Library is actually a national type of effort where it is where you take a book and you can receive a book. So really it's on an honor system where both the students or the community have access to the books on a 365, 70, every day kind of access. And of course it also promotes reading. Not just within our school, but also within our community. So it's very small. It's not, it's not, as you can see in the picture, it's a small.
Take one, leave one, kind of.
Yes, take one, leave one. So, and there are many communities around that are putting one in. I believe even the town of Springdale is considering putting one near town hall.
Thank you.
So our request is, we are still in some development phases, but we're looking forward to seeking approval for construction or moving forward with our efforts to continue our fundraising. Mr. Big.
I assume, we're seeing the picture with the books in there, but I assume there's something covering that.
Yes, it says glass. It's glass. It's in the glass door.
I make a motion to approve the fundraising campaign as presented by Springdale's School Improvement Council. With the qualification that, I know you said you're still working on this, so that any final design would be brought back before this board in conjunction with the architecture groups on working on that site, just to make sure everything's matching our new construction. But with that caveat, they'll bring that just final design back. I'm fine with people and start raising money for it. I think it's a great idea.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of approval of contract insurance procedures.
Yes, ma'am. Last board meeting, Angela talked to you about the teacher shortage and the number of teacher fairs that were coming up, and we have ours the 3rd of February. One of the things that she had talked to the board about in order to be competitive was to be able to issue contracts sort of on the spot. Those contracts would not be significantly different than the way we do it now, other than the fact that we're tying up talented folks before they're tied up with other districts. At the end of the day, the contract is the same as it always is, except with a bolder print in the fact that it's contingent on positive references, contingent on background check, and contingent on the ratification by the board. So I would recommend and ask that the board approve that Human Resources be able to issue contracts when necessary, particularly for those areas that have been historically hard to find.
Ms. Brown?
Motion to approve the approval of the request by administration to offer contracts during recruitment with the caveats of all the things Dr. James just added. That's obviously all the difference.
Have a motion, have a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, where's our job fair being held? What's
Casey.
the details?
Casey Elementary. Sir.
I was going to comment that I have seen the advertisements on the digital billboards. Those have been very effective because I picked them up several times across town.
We've gotten lots of response with that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that, and you're right, they are very visible, and through Kelly and Angela's efforts, those billboards cost nothing, and my understanding is Dawn has some others wherever she is that are going to cost nothing, so.
They've been really good. I mean,
Well, they
I can't tell you how many
actually,
times I've seen them.
they
I'm
actually
like,
cost,
"Oh,
but they
what's
talk
up?"
somebody else into paying for it, so. it is-
Okay, thank you. All right, next we'll move on. Consideration of approval for Act 155 request for granting of a high school diploma.
We've had a request for the granting of a high school diploma through Act 155. Administration recommends approval.
All right. Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion we accept the approval of the Act 155 request for high school diploma.
Motion on the second?
I'll second it, but I also have a question.
Okay.
I think Ms. Kay Kessler beat me to the second, but I do have a question.
Okay.
Dr. Hayward Evans, and I love this, it makes me so proud when we grant diplomas for kids who've been in our schools. But I do have a question. So the diploma that they actually receive, and you may or may not know the answer to this, but would they actually get like an airport or BC high school diploma, like what everybody else is getting? And does it have the graduation year of the year they walk? Okay. Thank you.
All right. I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next is consideration of a GMP for Brooklyn Casey High School arena.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have with us tonight Wendy Gilshart and Todd Cease, and I guess some preliminary remarks. We have been working on this budget for about 2 weeks now. Thompson Turner has put this out for bid. We've looked at several value engineering options. We have cut a good number of dollars out of what was originally brought in for the bid. And we have done some modifications because we wanted to show you kind of how much money that might be available for the other projects that we have also identified as needs at Brooklyn Casey High School. And with almost every project that we've done, we're not going to be able to get everything that we hoped to get because the costs have obviously been going up. The wish list was much larger than the pot of money. So we have for you tonight a guaranteed maximum price that includes a pretty good contingency. Just in case things might go south in some certain areas, but I will say Thompson Turner has an exceptional record of saving that contingency, and as you know, any contingency monies that are left at the end is turned back over to the district. We do have one item that we want to make sure that we're clear in our presentation to you that we did not identify as a value engineering item that we wanted to take. But we wanted to just give you that and give you that opportunity to provide feedback on the score clock that goes in the center of the gym. And one of the things that we thought about that I wanted to get priced is that having been a high school principal and having looked at and dealing with all of the different programs, one of the things that I have found that wrestling coaches want is they want a big, huge spotlight in the center court so that they can put it on that mat whenever they're having the big matches at the end of a tournament or something like that. So we can do that, I think, probably without taking this score clock out. Center scoreboard that you see in a lot of college arenas. But rather than it cutting costs, it would add costs if we don't take the big score clocks out. Because we would have to take and put a light in the center of that, so that would be an added cost. Overall, I think we identified that it would be a savings of around, what, $12,000 to $15,000?
I'd say $15,000.
Okay. So with that said, I'll let Jenny and Todd do the presentation, and then we will give you, if you want, option to give input on that score clock in the center.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, Dr. James. Pardon?
And the volleyball coach was a school board.
Okay. So, thank you for having me here again tonight. What I have presented to you are two sheets. The first sheet is the guaranteed maximum price that we are presenting to you for the arena. You will recall that you previously approved $1,819,385 for early site and foundation packages. We received the final contract documents for the balance of the building, issued them out for bid, and we got really great participation. We have at least 3 trades and 3 competitive bids in every single trade. And we were excited about that. There were a couple that we had to beg for. We're really excited about the mason that we're hoping to use on the job. He came in significantly lower and brought our price down even in the last 2 or 3 days. So on top of the fact that we got that great participation, we vetted every single one of those proposals, and we were able to use the lowest competitive qualified bid in every single trade. So that was really good as well. So the number that we're presenting to you tonight with final GMP is $11,862,341. And this includes a 5% construction contingency that we're hoping to be able to preserve. And if we're not able, if we don't have to spend it, then it will of course push down to the projects below. And so as I had told you before, as we update the final prices, I've also updated the target cost model. We took our budget, the true budget was $21,200,000 for what you could spend at Fulton Pacey High School. And as we've discussed before, we as a team and you have to prioritize your projects. And so we prioritized them in this list, and we've started kind of allocating the money down as we finish the prioritized projects. And so this is where we are to date. And as we have savings from perhaps the athletic work that we're completing now and the arena project that we'll push down below. And we can continue to refine our design and our prices as we competitively bid each one. Don referenced the deducted alternate. He asked me to get a price to delete that center scoreboard, which, as you know, has 4 sides. You also have a scoreboard on each end of the gym. The ones on each end of the gym are larger and have a couple of more bits of information on them. The ones in the center are all slightly smaller than the ones on the end. So if you delete that entire structure and those 4, I think the credit was exactly $17,500, and we're just kind of putting in an allowance for what that light fixture might be. We don't really know. We think it might be around $2,500 for whatever the special light fixture we do with shine down on the wrestlers if you want to add that. So if you would like to entertain it, we can. Don referenced it, there being an add. You add a light to the bottom of it. So what that would require is you modifying whatever that structure is that the scoreboards are mounted to and inserting a light into it. I'm not quite sure what it would cost, but I can't imagine that it would be more than $5,000. So it would be somewhat negligible compared to, you know, the savings of deleting the whole scoreboard. But again, there are issues at play with desires of other coaches, like Mrs. Kessler said. So I will leave that to Jeannie. And if you have any other questions about anything that I said, I'm happy to entertain them.
Okay, so as usual, I'm confused. This total price.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that with the scoreboard in the middle?
Yes, ma'am.
But without the wrestling line?
Correct.
Which you think will be
So if you delete the scoreboard,
No, don't.
I'm sorry.
You can add the light to the middle scoreboard?
I think that you can. It's my understanding that we can modify the scoreboard and it would shine.
I'm not in favor of removing the middle scoreboard at all.
So what I could do is just price that and we could just add the light to the scoreboard if that's what you want to do.
The price you gave us that's without the light, but with the middle scoreboard.
Correct.
Correct.
That is correct. You have the four-sided scoreboard in your price as it is. The deduct of $15,000 is to remove the four-sided scoreboard. I'm sorry if I didn't make it clear.
Well, you probably, I was confused as usual. So,
Well.
Ms. Brandon?
And without going through kind of a detailed list, what types of things did we leave out of this project? Did we do anything on the exterior? For one, is a big question for me, because, you know, we had to get approval on all these things, and we can't mess with the exterior whatsoever.
We did not touch anything on the exterior. There was discussion about removing the stone, but we did not do that. We did remove the interior cast stone in the lobby.
Okay.
Other than that,
For some reason, I think 12 had stuck out in my mind as what we had talked about at some point with the arena, so I was just surprised to see it come in at 11,862, so am I wrong to remember 12, or?
when we were at DD's, Thompson Turner actually had an estimate of 12.5. We actually, up to as recent as last week, we're at 12.5. So we did work very hard to try to get this number down for you so that you would have more money to spend in the high school. But I feel like that, or I know that we came up with a lot of good cost savings ideas that really do not detract from the quality of your building. We changed a specification of ceiling tile, which is the standard spec that you have in the building, and it saved $12,000 just changing that ceiling tile out today. We changed the type of roof. It was approved by the roofing consultant, Blunt Shepard, who Todd and JCS team uses, and it saved $37,000. So there are a number of items like that. I'd be happy to give you more if you want me to.
No, and I'm not in the VE business, and I know that that's your business.
But it's
I want to make sure we're not using cheaper products, because we don't want to have problems with this place 6 months down the road because we used cheaper ceiling tile or cheaper roof. I don't want.
It's not cheaper, they were just different specifications. The only items that I can think that you would have been concerned about, which really would have affected the aesthetic of the building, would have been the exterior tile or the exterior stone. We actually discussed removing the terrazzo from the long corridors, and we decided not to do that. We decided it wasn't worth it in terms of the value you were going to get in the longevity of the terrazzo. So you still have terrazzo in your corridors. Can you think of anything that they would notice that we use for value engineering?
I think for the most part, except the DE items, you would not notice that we've included those. So,
as an architect, are you okay with the quality of the materials that we're going to use? I don't want to put you on the spot against them or anything, but are you okay with the quality of the materials? Because we're going to come looking on your door, not her door, if things don't look good 2 years down the road.
No,
We're concerned about things that we can't see until
Well, that's what I'm saying.
2
I'm not
years
worried,
down
I'm
the
not
road.
talking
Right,
about
right.
stone. I'm talking about if we're using a ceiling tile that.
right. I think for the most part, I think we're very comfortable accepting these DE items.
Yes, and
Something we'll be all proud of.
Todd participated in both of the large team meetings that we had where we were making all these decisions, and additionally, both of his engineers weighed into all of the items for HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. So Swaggart Engineering and S&W Engineering participated in all of this VE, and where they said, I don't know if that's such a good idea, we did not do it. Where they said, yeah, that doesn't matter, go for it. Where it just might have been a bit over design or just something that wasn't quite necessary. Using PVC in lieu of copper in locations where it really didn't matter, or
and there were a number of items where we spoke up and didn't endorse.
That's correct.
Accepted.
And I appreciate what you do. I mean,
No, absolutely.
what you
I'm
do is
happy
valuable,
to-
but I just, you know, I worry when we just kind of go in to make a number fit and use sometimes maybe cheaper. But I'm glad you said it's not, it's less
we did
cost
not
effective, but
reduce
it's
the
not
quality of
cheaper
anything.
quality.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the maximum, guaranteed maximum price from Thompson Turner in the amount of $11,862,341.
motion, to have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Kessler. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have consideration of requests for overnight or out-of-state student travel. Ms. Brown?
Motion to approve the out-of-state or overnight student travel.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hinton. All right, next we will move on to administrative divisional reports, and the first one is superintendent report. Now, we've got, don't you have a report for us?
I do, which may turn out to be not at all by the next meeting we have. We've begun working on the calendar. There are two calendar drafts here. One puts in weather makeup days as individual days. You remember last year we had weather makeup days on holidays, and we had some discussion about whether we needed to make that up then or put in a day or whatever. Under that calendar, the last half day would be June 4th. We have another calendar that we put the weather makeup days on holidays. We would go to those holidays if we had to make up a day. As you know, by law, we've got to make up 3 days. We don't have any choice on that. We can only have 3 half days. Currently, we cannot begin school before the 3rd Monday in August, which the 3rd Monday in August this next year will be the 20th. That's about as late as it probably would get. Most of us have gotten accustomed to a spring break, Thanksgiving, Christmas break, those sorts of things. So to get 180 days and 190 days in, it's a pretty tight calendar, but as that stands, last day would be May the 31st for students, and it would be a half day. Now, all of this may be a moot point because my understanding is that there has been legislation introduced that we would be able to start school as early as the 13th of August, so that would push us back, and our recommendation would be that we would start then. So we have not disseminated this calendar. It's just our first blush. We wanted you to look to kind of see where we were thinking. You all have done this for a long time as a board, so you know the parameters. 3rd Monday in August, 180 kid days, 190 teacher days, and what holidays you want to take, and the 3 weather days are really truly the only variance if you take them on a holiday or if you plug in a day. So we're not asking you for anything other than just look at that, and next month if the legislation's passed, we'll bring you a calendar that starts on the 13th of August, and that will make it a whole lot simpler. But we'll entertain any questions or.
I'll just comment, this year, as far as I'm concerned, from a parent standpoint, your teachers staying away from holidays has been very popular, and I would encourage us to stay away from those. But I also know, again, hopefully the legislation is going to pass us the opportunity to start sooner anyway. I think the Senate actually said it was giving complete discretion to the schools even before the 13th. Hopefully this will get.
Well, if we can start on the 13th, this will be the last year that the calendar is this late, because this is as late as the 3rd Monday would be. Next year it'll be a little bit easier, but we do have those parameters. And, you know, Mr. Bingham said the other day, everybody likes getting out in May, and that's right, folks do like to get out in May, and kids like to go to the beach in June. So we'll try to give you a more up-to-date when we hear more, but this is kind of what we think. If you've got suggestions, we'll be glad to listen.
Ms. Brown?
And Mr. Jones, I hear and I agree with you, but I think teachers also wouldn't like ending on June 7th. You know, that's kind of late to end. But my only question is, Dr. James or whomever, March 11th on that second calendar, what is that? I mean, I figured that the 12th was probably Good Friday, but what's March 11th, 2019? So
I'll make up day. It's just a makeup.
So they would just have the day off for no.
They'd have the day off. If we have 2
There's no
days
holiday.
of bad weather, well, you get that one, because that's actually your second makeup day on this calendar. So, we've got 3 days built in, 2 are on holidays, 1's not. So, and you're right, Mr. Brown, teachers don't want to be the 7th of June.
And even do parents.
Yeah, but sometimes they want us to start back like on the 8th of June. But we're, y'all know, there are a lot of things to log into a short amount of time.
If we go back to that August 13th, would that put us back to ending the semester before Christmas break with the exams? 'Cause I know a lot of teachers really like that this year.
It's a good thing, Mr. Key, and I'm gonna tell you, one of the things that aggravates me the most is when you can't have your 9 weeks on 45 days, where you've got one semester that's got fewer days, and then one semester that's got 5 or 6, and sometimes more days. I mean, it skews the semester, it skews the instructional program, particularly an issue for me is you've got courses that have end-of-course testing. We know that out of the 1 English, probably 2 most failed courses in the entire United States. We're set up where with a 4x4 schedule, you could have a kid, if we don't get 45 and 45, you could have a kid that has maybe 82 days the first semester because of Christmas, and you know, the kid in spring gets almost 100. So our goal is to have 9 weeks, 45 days each, and break it right in the middle. So right now, without that legislation, this is awful, Calvin. The best it can be is awful.
More questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Jones. All right, next item is instruction.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. The first thing we have on the agenda would be your advanced ed documents, and I think you received that on a brown envelope. That was just for your information. I do need you to note Monday, March the 5th, because as we know it at this point in time, at 1 o'clock, the board will be interviewed for advanced ed. We provided the governing board interview poll, the questions that the team will be asking each of you. That is in the brown envelope. They'll probably ask you if you're aware, if you've received the survey data which we administered. You also have that data in your envelope. So we're not going to go over that in depth. We can certainly bring that back up at the board workshop if you have questions about that, or I'll be glad to entertain any questions you have tonight. But we wanted to start giving you a little bit at a time the documents you will need to prepare for the visit. So are there any questions about the advanced ed documents at this point in time?
Marcella and I will meet with them on the Sunday before you all meet with them on Monday. They come in, Marcella, 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock. Okay. So the next point of discussion would be our assessment data for 2017. We entitled this session this evening, Looking Forward and Driving Ahead, and I'd like to stand on the shoulders of Rob Burgraff. He said, well, Marcella, we can spend our time looking in the rearview mirror, or we can spend our time smartly looking at the windshield. And I said, you know, I really like that analogy. We can't really, you know, talk about everything that's happened in the past, but we're looking forward and we're moving ahead, so we are driving ahead. I want to share with you tonight, and you're aware because we've been talking about this ongoing, this is we no longer for South Carolina have a pause year. You know that in 2014 we received our last report card because we have changed assessments a number of times, and there have been various things that have happened over the last few years. We have been allowed to be in a pause state. Well, starting November 2018, we will receive an actual report card grade. So that is based on the data that will happen, or what our kids will take in May. So we just want to make sure we're all on the same page with that. So what are we doing to stay on track? So in mile 1, I'm sorry, I'm waiting on Rob to move it, and I have it. So in mile one, knowing that this is make or break year for us, when the newspapers open in November, there we are in the paper, we had to ask ourselves, are we all on the right seat on the bus? And so June 7, 2017, I feel like we took a bold move with our administration, including myself. We kind of locked ourselves in a room for 2 days and we said, look, what is our why? Why are we here? Are we here? Can we give it 150% because that's what is needed? We had some hard questions. We as a Lexington 2 administrative team devised some leadership non-negotiables, and we all agreed upon those leadership non-negotiables. If we're going to lead in Lexington 2, this is what that looks like. This is how we're going to behave. These are the norms that we will operate under. We brought in Dr. Sandra Lindsay, who's wide known throughout the state of South Carolina, and she worked with each school's team, assistant principal and coaches or whatever, lead teachers, and she did a diagnostic with them. She talked about each team's strength, the individuals of that leader's strength, and then the target areas for growth and how they can lift one another up. And they just had open conversation outside of myself and Dr. James. She just needed to be able to say, I'm looking at you, I'm listening at you, here's where I think your team can move forward. If you were really doing a mirror check, this is what your team could do at school A or school B to move yourselves forward. So we've gotten some positive feedback from that exercise, but I will be honest with you, in June we had a hard mirror check about how we were going to move ourselves and how we were going to govern ourselves as leaders in Lexington School District 2. So that was our first thing. On mile 2, we had to calibrate our compass. Many of you know that we have administered the MAP assessment over the last few years. And just to be quite honest with you, we would get the MAP results back at the district level. I would go out to the schools, the superintendent would go out to the schools, we're talking to the schools about the data, and they knew about the data, but honestly, and they gave us honest feedback, they weren't really using the data because they didn't feel like it was useful at that point in time. It was taking too long to administer. By the time we got the results back, it was cold data. So they honestly just said, you know, we need to take a second look at the benchmark that we're using. So we listened to them. We researched, our middle schools kind of took the lead on this and did some research for us and found STAR testing. STAR testing is a benchmark. It gives us basically the same data that MAP test gives us, but it's so timely. It's quick because we have the devices, you get the results back right away. You can give it more than one time. You don't have to wait until a district window to administer it. And so we find now that the teachers are using that data to guide their instruction because they get it back at that moment. And it gives them a trajectory of what the kids should do and how they can do it. So that was a major change for us. We moved from MAP to STAR. This is our first year. You know that the state provided some funding for reading coaches, and you all were very gracious to put reading coaches in the schools where the state did not provide funding. When we brought Ms. Kathy Jones-Storks in for ELA, I said to her, I said, I really need you to scrutinize those schedules to make sure our coaches are spending the time where they're supposed to be spending it and doing the activities and strategies and working with our teachers that will yield us positive results. So every month she gets a coach's schedule and she asks some hard questions because I get that feedback. You know, do you think that was the best use of your time? Or could we have done something differently? If you gather and cluster 2 or 3 more teachers, I think you can get more bang for your buck. So that is another strategy we put into place. In July, when we brought our administrators back for the first of the year, we actually had students from Lexington School District 2 come and talk to the principals and assistant principals from the student standpoint. They told us what they felt we were doing really well for them in Lexington 2, and they gave us honest feedback on things that they felt we should do differently. Because that is our customer. And we were, you know, missing the ball. We had to talk to our children that way. So it was very commendable for these young people to come and sit with their administrators to say, this is going really well at my school, and these are areas that we really need for you to take a look at. So that was some hard and good dialogue, and we were really proud of our kids. I do want you to know that we didn't go pick the creme de la creme to come, all that's going well. We tried to get a cross-section of every child and to be representative of everyone to give us that feedback, and we're really proud of that. We instituted, you may have heard about this, not everybody's happy about this, but we reinstituted the elementary grade level meetings each month, once a month, because we felt like we were on too many pages. So once a month, from 3 to 4, we meet with all of our teachers and we try to give them the same message, and it comes from us so that they know, or we're all clear about where we're trying to move this. What was happening in the past when we disbanded the elementary grade level meetings, by the time I got to a school in October, I may not get to the next school until January, and we've lost so much time. So meeting with them once a month helps us to get the message out at one time to everyone. Same thing happens at the secondary level. For mile 3, we're watching our gauges. Dr. James has instituted pulse checks where he brings all of us in, talks about our data ongoing. Of course, we continue with our classroom observations. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Morgan Platt put together, because we shared with you at a few board meetings back, the accountability model that we will be held accountable for with regards to the data when it comes out in November 2018. So Morgan took that accountability model and developed an anticipated performance calculator. Basically, he used his magic and he says, if you need 10 kids here, 10 kids here, 16 kids here, if you want to get an excellent on your report card, this is where your kids have to land. We introduced that to our principals in January when we got back, and it's been like the best thing since sliced bread. They're actually using their STAR data, which gives you SC rating predictors. They're actually using their STAR data and plugging in the numbers, and they can see, right now I'm at an average. I'm trying to get to good. I need to move 10 more kids to the next level. And so we're massaging that data constantly, and with the emails that we're receiving from the schools have been just tremendous in terms of the feedback we're receiving with that. And also, just going to be quite honest with you, Dr. James has shared with you all that one of his goals that he set for the entire district was for all of us to come to work at least 96% of the time. We have fallen short on that goal with regards to staff attendance, and that has been a cross for us to bear. And I'm sure we'll continue to talk about that, but in terms of watching our gauges, we are monitoring our staff attendance more stringently, because we know that the kids will learn best if their classroom teacher is there. At mile 4, our regular tune-ups, we've had our monthly observation analysis, and we've always talked to you about our classroom observations. But just an honest conversation with our administrators, we felt like we needed to put in another benchmark to make those more stringent. So they sent that information now to Dr. James. But at the principals meetings every month, we now analyze that data. We can go into the app, see how many classroom observations Marcella completed or did not complete, and then we have those discussions about what we're seeing well, and then why you may or may not have been in a classroom. Ms. Coleman, I'll give kudos to her. She set up an AP summit with our college board. In the past, we have used some internal presenters, but she actually reached out. The young lady came from Florida and spent a day with our AP teachers. We're really pleased about that. I want to pull over, as my pastor was saying, put the kickstand down here for end of course changes. You will see a little later in the packet where we've had some significant declines in our end of course changes. We know that there are lots of areas for growth for us to do with regards to instructionally. But I want to be quite honest with you and share some changes that we endured across the state. We received a memo sometime last year saying we had to now test special needs students that we've never tested before. And so they had to take end of course tests for a course they hadn't even been exposed to the content. So we looked at our numbers. We had to test all of our 11th graders. We took a hit. Now I'm not saying it's because of the special needs. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that is a variable as to what happened for us. We basically tested kids that had not been exposed to content. And when we looked at how our special needs numbers fell for that particular group of kids, we had a highly concentrated number of kids that just happened that way at the 11th grade. So we took a huge hit because we had to give those 11th graders all 3 tests. Now, starting this year, we're able to scaffold and get those kids scheduled into classes. We had to add more sections, get those kids scheduled into classes so that they can have the content, but that was a huge change for us that we did not see coming. Also, per Dr. James's directive, our high schools have put in year-long, for kids who really, really need it, year-long classes for end of course. So they get that content every day.
And I know that y'all's phone probably has been ringing about Read to Succeed, but to ensure that we were shoring up things at the early childhood level, because Read to Succeed is not a third grade teacher issue. It is an everybody issue. Those kids have been with us since CD4, and it's not fair to say it's the third grade teacher problem. It is not. It belongs to all of us. So we purchased, we vetted, had Ms. Jones vet, and we purchased Lucy Calkins units for reading and writing. I will say, I don't want to use the word scripted, I'll use the word guided, but it gives you particulars of what you say and what you do and how you do it. That has not been well received, I'll be very honest with you, but we felt it was a measure that we needed to put in. At mile 5, we're continuing to track our performance. We talked earlier about STAR, and I mentioned earlier, STAR can be given at any time. So I can test Don tomorrow if I feel like he's made growth and move his trajectory. I don't have to wait until the district sets a window. And then we talked about looking at our Elliott, which is the advanced ed observation tool. We transitioned over to that tool a few years ago because we knew that's what advanced ed would be using. We would purchase it in the past, now they give it to us for free, but we look at that data monthly with our classroom observations. I hesitated about whether I wanted to share this information with you because I hope you know that I'm not a person that makes excuses, but I do want to give you the facts. When you look at the South Carolina data in most of our tested areas, there was a decline across the state of South Carolina. I will share with you some of the reasons that we believe that happened. Again, our data did decline, and we're not making excuses, but I think it'll be fair for our teachers and for our staff to at least give you the facts of what happened. So you'll just see some comments here that was written in the state paper when the results were released, that overall South Carolina's average test scores dropped in 2016 compared to 2015 for end of course. And I'm not going to read that, but I didn't want you to think that was a Marcella standpoint. That was coming from what happened across the state. You all know that South Carolina has said that everyone will test online by 2018-19. So we are one-to-one, thanks to the directive of the board and the bond referendum monies. We took a plunge and we went ahead and tested online last year. Per state of South Carolina, many districts that tested online saw a decline because it was a different format for the children. You will see this was lifted from the state article, state paper. Of the surrounding areas in the Midlands, Lexington 2 was the only district that did not request a waiver. We felt like if we were going to take that dip for our we wanted it to be on the baseline, not the school year.
Marcella, it's important that the board know that that option is still open to districts. The State Department of Education is still taking waivers. We have not applied for the law. The law is very clear. You take it online, but the downside of that is as long as they grant waivers, our writing scores are going to be tough because kids get a little snippet at the top of the page and have to scroll down, and getting the prompt and getting the writing makes it difficult. So, but we have held to the law, and maybe we talked about that last year. We were the only district here that did. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the bottom line is the law is the law.
So, as you're aware, in 2014, when we were given a rating, Lexington School District 2 brought home a good. We are working very hard to turn that good or excellent to you in November 2018. I will be honest with you, we've had to cross the bear to get there, but we are working very hard to do that. Just some highlights. We're still really proud of our graduation rate, and you all have been very integral in ensuring that we stay on top of that. You can see where we are there. Our scholarship numbers went up. We are trying to work on kids with potential, as they call it in the gifted world. We've had 250 kids as of just last year in 4th through 6th grade that qualified for Duke Tip Scholars. We actually had the young ladies lined up before the weather came to come and talk to those parents about things that they can do to help those children. But we're working really hard to tap our potential. And of course, we're really proud of the early college and being one of the first in the Midlands with the early college model. So you have for you, several folks asked, are you gonna talk about everything in this packet? No, I'm not. You have the packet for you for the district as well as each school. Advanced Ed will ask you if you're aware of the data. I'll be glad to sit and talk with anyone that has any comments or questions to make sure that we're all on the same page. But what we did was just extracted our ELA and math scores based on the current data or 2017 data. I'm not gonna read that to you, but you can see where we did have declines. This is the end of course slide. We did put in a comparison from last year's data because we wanted you to see we were on the right trajectory. We had a lot of areas where we were above the state last year when we took the end of course. But we took a decline last year in 2017 with some of the changes that we had to enact. And the end of course was also an online assessment. This is our work keys data for 2016 and 17. Our graduation data for 4-year and 5-year. And so we're at that crossroads, and I'm getting ready to conclude. I've talked enough. But at that crossroads, we know that there's some angst. We know there's some anxieties in Lexington School District 2. I'm sure you all have heard about it. I hear about it all the time. I mean, when I can't even go to Walmart without getting cornered. But we purposely put that there for effect. But everybody's heart's beating real fast right now. Read to Succeed, as you know, this is the year where 3rd graders will be retained in the state of South Carolina if they do not pass that test, which brings us lots of anxiety. Our 3rd grade teachers' levels are here, just to be quite honest with you. And they send me not so nice messages, or they say, Marcella, you're making us sick, about all of that. But it is what it is for not just Lexington 2, for everybody. But I understand, even though I'm not in the classroom, I get their level of anxiety. I will say that we had to submit our documenting model to the State Department in the fall. Lexington 2 received a phone call. Our model was showcased across the state as the model of what people should be doing and how they should be monitoring it. So I know it's a lot, but we felt really good when we got that phone call from the State Department saying, can you share with the other districts what you all are doing to monitor this? The heart continues to beat. In addition to Read to Succeed, we're going through accreditation. We are in that cycle with accreditation. When accreditation changes, when Advanced Ed changes anything, we're always at the forefront. So the 10 or so districts that are going through accreditation in South Carolina this year, which we're one of them, we're going through under the new model. It has been very stressful, I'll be very honest with you. So you add some of that, I'm not making excuses, I'm just telling y'all our facts, the current reality. You add that, the level is here. And as I mentioned earlier, our teacher attendance rate gives us cause for concern. I will be glad to entertain any questions that you have at this time.
Marcel, without going into great detail, and we can talk about this more at the workshop, but how do you gather your data and to get these numbers? I mean, is someone plugging that in, or? Have we missed any, or?
Have we missed any?
I mean.
Most of it comes from the state.
Yeah, most of it comes from the state.
Okay. How do you get your data from each school?
Schools have to submit to the state, and then there are pieces of the data sets that we have to submit from the state, but most of it, a lot of it comes from the school inputting into a portal, or report card portal that they have to work through. There's a window, I don't know when it starts, Morgan, like June, May?
Summer survey. Yeah.
Summer survey is what they call it, and it starts like in the beginning of the summer and it goes to the fall. So you can enter your data ongoing, all throughout the time. You can change your data if you see, you've made errors, but a lot of that falls at the school level.
And that data that is being entered at the school level, we feel like that is being correctly or entered.
That is, you know, we can only go on the fact that yes, we feel like it is correct data.
Well, I mean, I just, with everything entered that should be entered, I guess is what I'm asking. Everything is entered like it should be.
Yes. And what we did this year was during one of our principals meetings, just to ensure we were all on the same page, we took time out of that principals meeting to say, open your portal, look to see if there are any red flags. And I'll use one school for example, their gifted numbers had declined significantly, or there was an error in their coding. So they had to go back to their school and work with their power school clerk to get that straightened out. So we try to put in internal measures here to mark that data, but.
And Ms. Wood, you're touching at the heart of one of the most important things. As a matter of fact, I talked to Marcella today because Molly Spearman was saying it is absolutely vital that the power school, that those people are so attentive to detail. It's not only reporting on the report card and information they collect, but our dollars come from that. And the State Department, I don't know that the budget's going to be great this next year. Kelly's going to talk to you a little bit about that, but you know, they're already saying you need the most detail-oriented person you can find that is dealing with your power. It's that important because it deals with the reporting piece, but it also deals with the money afforded. Because if you have a kid that maybe is special ed and they aren't coded in the correct way, you lose lots of dollars. And the special ed piece of that, Lisa, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if special ed were a school unto themselves in this district, it would be the biggest school in this district. So it's real important that the kids are coded correctly, and it's real important that we get the right data from the testing and what they're doing. So you poke the right string right there and then.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, somewhat, and we can discuss it more at the workshop.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's a concern, and when you look at it and hear different things, I want to make sure. And I don't know, as you well know, I'm not an IT or put in, or certainly I can't get into a portal, I assure you. But I want to make sure it's being. That's why I'm asking.
Right.
Have we got in there what we need? We got the right person putting it in.
Right.
Are we sure we're giving them the right information that goes? That they send back.
Right. For example, when we were looking at the data that we put in for the report card, the schools put it in, they sent it up to us, James looked at it, Morgan and I looked at it, and we said, you know, this doesn't, we got to go back. And so between the two high schools and the graduation coaches that you all are supplying for us, and the registrars at those two schools, I mean, for 5 days, emails bounced back and forth. And when the first data set came in, we were predicted like at 80%. And I'm like, this is not right. We literally had, Morgan was on the phone, I was on the phone, Dr. James was on the phone. The high schools were on the phone, I commend them. Everybody was working really, really hard. And you can see through joint efforts, we got it up to 87.4%. So we decided at that point in time, versus leaving everything at the school level, we'll have a district day where we all come to the table and kind of say, have you looked at this? Did you call Orangeburg Tech? Did you call Denmark Tech? You know, I see we have some outliers here. Let's all get on the phone. And that's what it's going to take. So we learned a lot through that process, just making sure that we were holding each other accountable and asking the hard questions. So while it's not perfect, we are trying to strengthen how we look at it.
Quick question. Obviously, I know there's not an easy way for us to determine the effect of taking an online test and how that affects our scores. But since we're testing a segment of our population that we haven't tested in the past, is there some way to differentiate special ed? This is a special ed group, and this is how they affected our scores, so we have a little more realistic idea of like, okay, based on last year, we really would have been here. Yeah. Obviously, I know we got to continue testing going forward, but it's apples and oranges, right?
We did extract that data
okay.
To look at the impact.
Okay. I'd be curious, man, maybe at the workshop would be a good time to look at
you can't combine Mr. Giles, we probably could tell you that. That's not anything that, I can see Lisa about to fall out of her seat. That's not anything we'd make public.
No, I understand that,
But we
but
can-
that's a much more fair comparison
Yeah, we
for us
would-
to say
we would-
apples, apples. I know that going forward, this is what we have to do.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at a substantial change and we're testing a different group of kids that is affected, it'd be nice to know, well, if you pull those out, what does it really look like year to year?
And one thing I may not have mentioned is starting this year, like they'll only take one test, if that should make sense. Where last year we had to give them all three at one time. We'll give them one as a ninth grade, one as a 10th grade, one as a 11th grade, to kind of lessen the impact.
Everyone has to be tested by the 11th grade year. And we look at all demographics, not just special ed, pull them in and out. But
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You want to pick me up, Carl?
no, I want that heart to slow down, don't we?
Thank you. All right, next we move on to finance.
Thank you. I have for you December's financials, and I have updated at your place for the December county tax revenue. That usually doesn't come in until the 15th of every month, and depending on when we have our board meetings and timing of when taxes go out, we may not have received that information yet. So I do have an updated one. We received right at $5 million in December on property taxes, so that's been updated from the one that was in the packet. So bringing that total up to $34 million for revenue and 42.95% of our budget received, which is different from the one in.
I got a couple questions on that,
Yeah.
just education-wise. So the three that you got, revenue, in lieu of taxes, the day school, and day school from other, do those just normally come in later time? Is that why they're showing 0% on those?
You talk under the state?
Under local sources, you
Local
got,
sources.
yeah, revenue in lieu of taxes.
Oh, yeah, the fee in lieu doesn't come in until around April.
Okay.
And then the tuition, those usually are the ones, the residential treatment, that comes in at the very end of the year. That's when we bill out.
So it's just a timing issue on that?
Yes, those are all timing issues.
And just because it's such a crazy number, what is the other miscellaneous revenue that's
I think
6% higher?
the bulk of that is the $100,000 energy grant that Don was able to get for us. We've received the first of those two. There are two in total. We received the first one. I guess that's the one for Casey on that. So.
Thank you.
And then we have the expenditures. Be happy to answer any questions.
Kelly, I do have one question. Back on that revenue, we seem to be substantially down on revenue as compared to last year.
Are you looking at the updated one?
Maybe not. Got it,
Yeah, that one does not include the county tax revenue, yes. If you have questions on the expenditures, the next is just the update on expenditures through December for the referendum funds. Each year we add a column, it gets smaller and smaller. Happy to answer any questions on that. If no questions, the next I have the proposed budget calendar for fiscal year 2018-19. We've started that process. We've already started meeting with principals and fund managers.
last week actually, and continuing on into this week, and those will end right around the 1st of February. To start gathering just needs from our schools and enrollment projections that they have, teacher counts, things like that. So you'll see also that we have, it pretty much mirrors last year. The budget calendar also mirrors the legislative process when we are going to receive numbers from the House, Ways and Means, the Senate, Senate Finance, and so on. So that our budget calendar is pretty much mirrored. We have our first budget work session starting in March. By then we should have House Ways and Means numbers. Right now, we're not hearing a whole lot. We had the governor did not have a lot to say about education. We're not looking for a big increase in base student cost or any funding. It's an election year too, so we'll just wait and kind of see what comes out of the House. But right now, we're really not hearing that anything's going to be any increases much. And the Department of Ed had put in for a teacher, increase for teacher salaries, and I'm hearing that that's probably not going to happen at the House level. You never know. This is just very early speculation. So that's really all we know right now at this point. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
No objection, the monthly financial reports will stand approved and submitted. Next, we'll move on to administration and student services. Mr. Eisenhower.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James would like to recognize Todd Cease, who's going to do a quick update on where we are with the Fulmer project.
All right, good. Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, thank you for this opportunity. And I'd be remiss if I didn't express our thanks and appreciation for all you do as school board members. You guys know my dad served on the board, so I personally know the dedication and commitment that you have to this community and the children of this community. So on behalf of our firm, thank you for what you do. We are really excited to give you an update on Fulmer Middle School. And over the last 6 or 8 weeks, we've been working closely with Mr. Eisenhower, Mr. Kugler, Ms. Carrera, and her staff, and so we're excited to share some of the developments at Fulmer. So just to kind of give you sort of a brief overview, Boston Avenue runs up and down the right-hand side of the sheet. Walterboro Street comes down at the bottom of the sheet. The new proposed addition, a 2-story addition, is located here in blue. We will demolish the existing 100 wing and 200 wing of Fulmer and create this new addition. We'll save the existing 300 hall and the 20 or so classrooms associated in the 300 hall. And then as part of phase 2, we propose renovating the course and the band and the PE multi-use type area and make modifications to the gym. The main entrance, again, is located here. We'll create a safe and secure entry point for everybody coming in off of the main drive. Administration wing will be located on the left as you come in. We'll have a series of avid labs and science labs, so very appropriate type spaces for those very innovative programs that Ms. Carrera has going on at Fulmer. And then on this end of the building, which is adjacent to sort of Eagle Drive, is the cafeteria and the kitchen. And then you can see we'll have a new art room, strings room, and this is the point where we actually connect back into the existing building. I mentioned it's a 2-story building, so as you enter this sort of main entrance area, you'll have the ability to go upstairs to the media center, which is in pink, and then again, several science labs and classroom spaces upstairs. I failed to introduce Luciana Lazzarini. She's an architect with our office she's been with us for about 10 years. Her son's a student over at Northside Middle School, and so she's been working with us for about 10 years and does an excellent job. So she's working closely with us on this project. So thank you, Lucy. I'd like to kind of share with you the 3D fly-through. So Robert, if we hit advance, will that go? I hope. Okay. So this is kind of from Walter Burr and Boston Avenue, that perspective. And if it doesn't work, I'll bring it next month, because sometimes these files are so large that certain computers won't run it.
Mr. Eisenhower, here, also had a good question on that one point. We were going to Walter Burr Avenue as far as ownership of that, to see if we incorporate that. Did we ever find out anything as far as if we actually take that road over, or who owned it, or?
So it's a state-owned road, Walter Burr. The other drive, Eagle Drive, is, we think, a county-owned road. And so we're making, we're started the process of sitting down with the county officials. We want to, continue to use that as parent drop-off drive and stacking space, so we can get people off of Boston Avenue, get parents off of Boston Avenue, and wrap around the school much like it does now. We'll create a new drop-off drive back there where we get a covered entrance into the cafeteria. We're proposing to use the front loop as the bus drop-off loop. And again, these children that get dropped off at the front will actually gain access to the cafeteria also. Okay. Well, it's pretty fantastic. and we'll look at it next time. We'll bring our computer and run the 3D program for you. So, and you always have an open invitation to come by the office and look at it too. But we'll bring it next month. We're able to look around the entire new addition. It's 60,000 square feet. It addresses Boston Avenue. It creates a safe and secure environment, and it creates some very innovative spaces that enhance the programs that are offered. So we're excited about it. Glenn Dillon and Lierica are here from Contract Construction. So we've kind of shared the schematic drawings where we are to date. We'll be finishing up design development drawings over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then move into the construction document phase, so that when school's out, we should be prepared to start the construction project this summer. So apologize for the 3D, but we have something else to look forward to next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
All right, we have in your packet, Mr. Cougar has actually started taking this over, so we have a lot of information in there with regard to construction update materials, information. He and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding information in your packet.
Ms. Kessler?
For Airport High School, you say the fence around the school courtyard is installed, failed the OSF inspection. For what reason?
It does not meet the egress requirements. In case of a fire into that, and if students were in that courtyard, they do not have enough access to get out of that courtyard with that fence in place.
Okay. Now, fencing in that place. When you go and you look at the fencing that's installed around the stadium, or the front portion of it. It looks nice in the front. But so right now, when you take a turn to the right or left and look at the other fencing, it's disgraceful. You've got
toward the school,
on toward around the stadium itself.
and that is on our radar. In fact, Mr. McPherson has plans to replace that.
When?
I'm taking bids right now to the section back by the tennis court and the baseball field right there. We'll take a look at the football section.
It's nice, but you need one continuing fence. It does not need to look like Fibber McGee's or Coda Mini Colors where you've got every section's different. It's rather embarrassing to drive around some of our campuses to see those sites and all the extra fencing that's on that campus and our other high school. Is there any way to get rid of some of those fences that serve no purpose and gates that are off of their hinges and
All of that.
and gates that have flat tires that can't be closed?
It's all, Mr. McPherson has been looking at all of that, and we've been talking about it, and as you might recall, we put in our CPIF budget, $40,000, I think it was, for fencing, and we're in the process of taking bids and looking at replacing a good bit of fencing in our district.
If you've looked at the fencing in our district, $40,000 won't touch it. Like at Congaree, you've got black coated fencing around most of that school, but then the new part of the fencing, which is maybe 50, 60 feet, new galvanized fencing that butts right into a black fence. I don't understand aesthetically why we're doing this to our campuses.
If you have Airport High School on the right side of the property, we cut those trees back, put a new set of fence right there. Right behind the baseball field, there was a small little wire fence. We removed that about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We're getting bids on the baseball, that roughly every one that ties on the baseball. So.
And the fences that are close to the practice soccer fields, that used to be the old soccer fields rather, there's a lot of extra fencing there. Can that be disposed of as well? And at Brooklyn Casey's the same thing, coming down through the path there by the baseball new facility. It just seems like there's fencing and gates that are just leaning and such eyesores.
Yeah, I talked to Greg Morton about that, about the old track area, removing a lot of that fencing in there. He said, it's like herding cattle, and so we're looking at that too. So we agree with you.
I'm very thankful that you do, but I've been working with these issues for a long time, and I want somebody to tell me that they're going to go in, they're going to get it done, they're going to put up new fencing that at least goes with what we have in existence by aesthetics. I'm getting old. I don't want to be in the grave before it's done. I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Austin, I have one quick question on Casey Elementary. I know they were having some, seepage issues in the media center, water coming up with the rain, that kind of stuff. We did that addressed. That was early on, I know, but
They've regraded it. Mr. Cooper, have you had any more complaints about water coming in the media center?
Not with the only recent things I have.
Okay. They've regraded it, and at this point, we have not had any more issues. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do. Gotcha.
In here you're talking about the grass that's got under warranty for a year, and when Brooklyn Casey was finished the arena, they exceeded the budget by probably 4 or 5 times. Mr. Cecil's here, you can validate that. When they put the shrubbery and things in for the stadium, half of that is dead. I certainly hope that on this under a year contract that we do not fall short a year from now in noticing and being able to replace shrubbery that is dead and grass that's not doing well, so it's on them, not on us.
Well, I can tell you that we try to do a pretty good job of monitoring all of this stuff, and the fencing and things that you've mentioned, those things have been in place for a long time. And we are addressing those as money allows. And as far as the grass and the things that have died, Part of that is the fact that we didn't spend the money to put in irrigation systems that needed to be put in place. We have asked you last year to allow us to purchase a four-wheel drive tractor that would allow us to dump topsoil into these places where we have erosion throughout our campuses, so that we might start slowly addressing those issues. But again, if we don't spend money to put in irrigation, then we run the risk of those occurring again. But we're aware that we have one tree that's dead right now at Casey. One of the things that we've done that may or may not have happened previously is that we did not allow trees to be put out at a time where the chance of survival is cut back considerably. We've asked that they wait until now, basically, to put those trees in. In fact, the trees were put in at Casey right before our open house on purpose. We didn't allow them to put them in during the summer because they will typically die when you put them in, and this is just the best time to put those in. So to answer your question, we're trying our best to use what we know to try to minimize the chances of those trees and grass and things dying, and we've also spent a lot of money for irrigation on these new projects. Now, can we afford to keep that up? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But we've put it in place, and on these new projects, we don't think that we will have the issues that we've had on previous projects.
Mr. Eisenhower, at the stadium at BC, there's that, and I'm sorry I don't know the name of it, the irrigation system they put in, you've got the hose. They're exposed now because they were under pine straw, because pine straw's long been gone. So there was some kind of irrigation put in there, and they still are dying. Okay, thank you.
When I first came, we actually got with SMW, who created the landscape, I think, plan for that stadium. And even though it was beyond the one-year warranty, we were able to talk to them, and they were able to put enough pressure on the landscaping company to actually come in and replace some of those trees, even after that one-year warranty. So we are aware of those, and we will address them again as we can.
Thank you. Also, thank you for looking at that furniture, the new furniture, so that we don't have problems with the flooring. I appreciate that very much, and I know you've gone to a great extent to do that. That's saving our floors. Thank you for that effort.
Thank you, sir. All right, next item is human resources, and I don't believe we have a report. All right, I'll take a motion to enter executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion the Board of Trustees in closed session for consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, discussion of property matters, discussion of contractual matters, and consideration of 3 student expulsion appeals.
A motion to have a second. Second from Ms. Kessler. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're now in executive session.